Welcome to this channel after 2-week pause. I am your host Harshit Simha would lead this session on the Transparency Revolution, 25 Years of CDP, where we will explore how environmental disclosure has evolved into one of the most influential mechanisms for advancing corporate sustainability and responsible business practices. CDP, originally established as the Carbon Disclosure Project, has fundamentally transformed the relationship between businesses, investors, regulators, and society by making environmental information transparent, measurable, and actionable. Throughout this presentation, we shall understand how environmental transparency has progressed from being a voluntary initiative to becoming a strategic business imperative. We will examine CDP's remarkable 25-year journey, beginning with a simple investor request in 2000 and evolving into the world's largest environmental disclosure system that today supports thousands of companies and institutional investors across the globe. The main objective of this session is to appreciate how transparency enables organizations to identify climate-related risks, improve governance, strengthen resilience, and attract sustainable investments. Equally important, we will understand how disclosure serves as the foundation for climate action, biodiversity conservation, water stewardship, and nature-positive business strategies. As environmental regulations become increasingly stringent worldwide, organizations are expected not merely to comply but to demonstrate measurable environmental performance. CDP provides the standardized framework that enables businesses to communicate such performance consistently and credibly. By the conclusion of this presentation, participants will understand why environmental disclosure is no longer regarded as an optional reporting exercise but as a strategic management tool that influences investment decisions, corporate reputation, regulatory compliance, and long-term organizational competitiveness. Slide 2. Alignment with global standards. In this slide, we focus on alignment with global standards, one of CDP's most significant strategic contributions to modern sustainability reporting. Over the past decade, organizations have faced an increasingly complex reporting environment characterized by multiple sustainability frameworks, standards, and regulatory requirements. This complexity often resulted in duplication of effort, inconsistent reporting, and increased compliance costs. CDP addresses this challenge through the principle of write once, read many. This philosophy enables organizations to prepare a single high-quality environmental disclosure that simultaneously satisfies the information needs of multiple stakeholders, including investors, regulators, lenders, customers, and rating agencies. The primary subtopic is framework harmonization. CDP aligns its questionnaire with internationally recognized standards such as the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, TCFD, Global Reporting Initiative, GRI, Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, SASB, ISSB IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards, and numerous regional regulatory frameworks. Such harmonization significantly reduces reporting fragmentation while improving comparability and consistency. Another important subtopic is interoperability. Data reported through CDP can be integrated into ESG ratings, sustainability reports, regulatory submissions, and investor assessments without requiring organizations to prepare multiple independent disclosures. From an organizational perspective, this integrated reporting approach improves data quality, enhances governance, minimizes reporting costs, and strengthens stakeholder confidence. Investors particularly value standardized disclosures because they facilitate meaningful comparisons between companies operating across different industries and jurisdictions. Ultimately, CDP functions as a global bridge connecting diverse sustainability frameworks into a coherent environmental reporting ecosystem, thereby supporting informed decision-making and accelerating progress toward sustainable development. Slide 3. The hidden cost of business. This slide introduces the hidden cost of business, emphasizing why environmental disclosure became necessary in the first place. Historically, conventional financial accounting focused almost exclusively on economic performance while ignoring environmental degradation. Consequently, environmental impacts remained largely invisible within corporate decision-making processes. The first topic is the blind spot. For decades, industrial growth generated significant externalities such as greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation, water depletion, biodiversity loss, and pollution. Because these impacts were neither measured nor financially quantified, organizations often overlooked their long-term consequences. Investors, governments, and communities therefore lacked reliable information to evaluate environmental risks. The second topic is transparency first. Effective environmental management begins with measurement. The widely accepted management principle, "you cannot manage what you do not measure," applies equally to sustainability. Without credible environmental data, organizations cannot establish meaningful targets, assess progress, or implement improvement strategies. The final topic is the answer, CDP. CDP emerged to fill this critical information gap by creating a standardized disclosure platform through which companies voluntarily report environmental performance. This transformed previously invisible environmental impacts into measurable business metrics that investors and stakeholders could evaluate objectively. Today, environmental transparency influences capital allocation, risk management, corporate governance, procurement decisions, and regulatory oversight. Organizations increasingly recognize that unmanaged environmental risks ultimately become financial risks affecting profitability, resilience, and enterprise value. Therefore, CDP's greatest contribution lies not merely in collecting environmental data but in fundamentally changing how businesses perceive environmental performance as an essential component of corporate strategy and long-term value creation. Slide 4. Chapter 1 Part 1. The Genesis of Change. This slide marks the beginning for Chapter 1, The Genesis of Change, which examines the origins of CDP and the emergence of environmental disclosure as a transformative global movement. Every major institutional innovation begins with a visionary idea, and CDP is no exception. The beginning of environmental accountability. Around the year 2000, climate change was gaining scientific recognition, yet businesses generally viewed environmental reporting as voluntary philanthropy rather than a strategic business necessity. Environmental information was fragmented, inconsistent, and rarely considered by mainstream financial markets. A revolutionary concept. CDP introduced an innovative proposition. Investors should systematically request standardized environmental information from corporations before making investment decisions. This shifted environmental disclosure from a corporate public relations activity to a financially material management practice. Institutional transformation. By placing environmental information within mainstream financial decision-making, CDP fundamentally changed the expectations of investors, regulators, corporations, and policymakers. Environmental transparency gradually became an integral element of responsible corporate governance and risk management. This chapter also illustrates how collaborative action between investors and corporations can reshape entire markets. Rather than relying solely on regulation, CDP demonstrated that investor demand could successfully encourage voluntary disclosure, ultimately establishing global reporting norms. Understanding this historical context helps us appreciate why CDP has become a cornerstone of modern ESG reporting and why environmental disclosure now serves as a critical foundation for sustainable finance, climate resilience, and corporate accountability worldwide. Slide 5 is to 2000 A Radical Idea. This slide explores 2000, a radical idea, the pivotal moment that marked the birth of CDP and initiated a new era in environmental transparency. At the turn of the millennium, sustainability reporting was still in its infancy, and the concept of linking environmental performance with financial decision-making was widely regarded as unconventional. The first topic is the mission. CDP's founders believed that environmental information should be treated with the same importance as financial information. Their vision was to place climate-related data at the center of investment analysis, enabling investors to better evaluate long-term business risks and opportunities. The second topic is the founding moment. CDP was established as the Carbon Disclosure Project with the objective of requesting companies to disclose greenhouse gas emissions, climate-related risks, governance structures, and mitigation strategies. This standardized approach created a common language for environmental reporting. The third topic is the humble start. The initiative began with only 35 institutional investor signatories jointly requesting climate disclosures from major corporations. Although modest in scale, this collaborative investor action established the foundation for what would become the world's leading environmental disclosure platform. The significance of this milestone extends far beyond climate reporting. It demonstrated that investors possess considerable influence in encouraging corporate transparency and responsible environmental governance. Over time, this simple request evolved into a globally recognized disclosure framework influencing capital markets, corporate strategy, regulatory policy, and sustainable development. The remarkable success of CDP illustrates how a single innovative idea, supported by committed stakeholders, can transform global business practices and redefine corporate accountability for future generations. Slide 6. The Evolution of Transparency, CDP at 25. This slide presents the evolution of transparency, CDP at 25, illustrating how a modest investor-led initiative evolved into the world's foremost environmental disclosure platform. Understanding this journey enables us to appreciate how environmental reporting has matured from voluntary disclosure into a globally recognized instrument for sustainable finance and corporate accountability. The historical timeline. CDP was established in 2000 with the support of only 35 institutional investors requesting climate-related disclosures from leading corporations. This marked the beginning of investor-driven environmental transparency. In 2010, CDP expanded its scope by launching the Water Security Program, acknowledging the intrinsic relationship between climate change and water resources. The 2012 rebranding from the Carbon Disclosure Project to simply CDP reflected its broadened focus beyond greenhouse gas emissions, incorporating forest risk commodities and ecosystem conservation. The second subtopic is integrated environmental reporting. The introduction of an integrated questionnaire in 2024, together with standardized plastics reporting and AI-assisted disclosure support, demonstrated CDP's commitment to improving reporting efficiency while maintaining scientific credibility. The anticipated 2026 Ocean Disclosure Framework further broadens reporting into marine ecosystem stewardship and nature-positive business practices. Another important topic is future direction. Today, more than 25,000 companies, supported by hundreds of institutional investors managing approximately $127 trillion in assets, participate in CDP's disclosure ecosystem. This remarkable growth demonstrates increasing recognition that environmental transparency enhances governance, strengthens risk management, improves investment decisions, and supports long-term enterprise resilience. Ultimately, CDP's evolution reflects the broader transformation of sustainability from corporate responsibility to strategic business leadership, reinforcing that transparent environmental disclosure is fundamental to achieving a resilient, low-carbon, and nature-positive global economy. Slide 7. The Power of the Investor Request. This slide examines the power of the investor request, which remains the cornerstone of CDP's influence on corporate environmental disclosure. Unlike regulatory mandates that rely on legal enforcement, CDP harnesses the collective influence of investors to encourage companies to voluntarily disclose high-quality environmental information. The investor request. Every reporting cycle begins with institutional investors jointly requesting companies to disclose information regarding climate risks, greenhouse gas emissions, water security, deforestation, governance practices, and environmental strategies. Because investors collectively represent substantial global capital, these requests carry significant influence over corporate priorities. The second topic is corporate response. Companies responding to these requests often initiate internal processes to collect environmental data, strengthen governance structures, establish sustainability targets, and improve risk management systems. In many organizations, the disclosure process itself catalyzes cross-functional collaboration among finance, operations, procurement, environmental management, and executive leadership. The third topic is global standardization. Over 2 decades, what began as a voluntary investor initiative gradually evolved into the de facto global benchmark for environmental disclosure. Today, companies recognize that transparent reporting influences investor confidence, credit ratings, supply chain relationships, customer expectations, and regulatory preparedness. An equally important aspect is the creation of market accountability. Investors increasingly integrate CDP disclosures into investment screening, portfolio risk assessments, shareholder engagement, and stewardship activities. Consequently, organizations demonstrating strong environmental governance often benefit from improved access to sustainable finance and enhanced market reputation. This investor-led approach illustrates how financial markets can successfully encourage environmental responsibility without relying solely on legislation, thereby accelerating corporate action toward climate resilience and sustainable development. Slide 8, Chapter 2 Part 2, Expanding the Scope. This slide introduces Chapter 2, Expanding the Scope, highlighting CDP's transition from a climate-focused disclosure system to a comprehensive environmental reporting framework encompassing multiple dimensions of sustainability. Broadening environmental perspectives. Initially, CDP concentrated exclusively on greenhouse gas emissions and climate-related risks. However, scientific evidence increasingly demonstrated that climate change is interconnected with water scarcity, biodiversity loss, deforestation, ecosystem degradation, and supply chain resilience. Recognizing these interdependencies, CDP progressively expanded its disclosure framework to capture a wider range of environmental issues. The other topic is integrated environmental risk management. Modern organizations face complex environmental challenges that cannot be managed independently. Water availability influences industrial production, biodiversity affects ecosystem services, and land use change impacts climate stability. CDP therefore promotes integrated reporting that enables organizations to understand relationships among multiple environmental risks and opportunities. Another significant topic is strategic sustainability. Environmental disclosure has evolved beyond simple compliance reporting to become an essential component of strategic planning, enterprise risk management, capital allocation, innovation, and stakeholder engagement. Organizations now evaluate environmental dependencies across operations, procurement networks, product life cycles, and investment portfolios. This chapter also emphasizes the growing importance of nature-positive business models, encouraging companies to minimize ecological impacts while creating long-term environmental and economic value. Overall, expanding the scope of disclosure reflects the recognition that sustainable development requires organizations to manage climate, water, forests, biodiversity, and natural resources collectively rather than through isolated environmental programs. This holistic perspective significantly improves organizational resilience and long-term sustainability performance. Slide 9 is to 2010 Beyond Carbon. This slide discusses 2010, Beyond Carbon, a major milestone in CDP's development marked by the introduction of the Water Security Program. This expansion acknowledged that environmental sustainability extends beyond greenhouse gas emissions and that water security represents a material business risk across industries. The first topic is the water expansion. Increasing scientific evidence demonstrated that climate change significantly affects hydrological systems through droughts, floods, declining groundwater resources, changing precipitation patterns, and deteriorating water quality. These impacts directly influence industrial production, agriculture, energy generation, manufacturing, and community well-being. The second topic is climate risk equals water risk. Rising global temperatures alter freshwater availability, intensify water stress, and increase exposure to extreme weather events. Consequently, organizations must evaluate water-related physical risks alongside traditional climate risks. Water scarcity can disrupt operations, increase production costs, affect supply chains, and create regulatory as well as reputational challenges. Another important topic is holistic environmental management. CDP's dedicated water questionnaire enables companies to disclose water withdrawals, consumption, discharge quality, pollution prevention measures, watershed dependencies, governance mechanisms, and adaptation strategies. Such disclosures help investors understand organizational resilience under changing climatic conditions. Beyond regulatory compliance, water disclosure encourages businesses to improve resource efficiency, adopt circular water management practices, engage stakeholders, and strengthen climate adaptation planning. Companies that proactively manage water risks often achieve operational savings, enhanced resilience, and improved stakeholder confidence. Therefore, CDP's expansion into water reporting represented a fundamental shift toward integrated environmental stewardship, demonstrating that effective sustainability management requires balancing climate action with responsible water resource management across the entire value chain. Slide 10 is to 2012 Deforestation and the Rebrand. This slide highlights 2012, Deforestation and the Rebrand, one of the most transformative milestones in CDP's institutional evolution. During this period, the organization broadened both its identity and its environmental reporting scope, reflecting the growing recognition that climate change cannot be addressed independently of ecosystem conservation. The first topic is the rebranding of CDP. The transition from the Carbon Disclosure Project to simply CDP symbolized a strategic expansion beyond carbon accounting. The new identity acknowledged that businesses face interconnected environmental risks involving forests, biodiversity, water resources, and ecosystem services alongside greenhouse gas emissions. The second topic is forest risk commodity disclosure. CDP introduced dedicated reporting on commodities such as palm oil, timber, soy, and cattle products, which are among the principal drivers of global deforestation. Companies were encouraged to disclose sourcing practices, supply chain traceability, land use impacts, and measures to eliminate deforestation from procurement activities. The third topic is supply chain accountability. Rather than limiting environmental responsibility to direct operations, CDP extended disclosure expectations throughout corporate value chains. Organizations increasingly became responsible for understanding environmental impacts associated with suppliers, raw materials, transportation, and product life cycles. This expanded approach supports biodiversity conservation, ecosystem resilience, responsible sourcing, and sustainable land management while helping organizations identify operational risks associated with resource scarcity, regulatory changes, and stakeholder expectations. Ultimately, the 2012 transformation established CDP as a comprehensive environmental disclosure platform capable of addressing interconnected global sustainability challenges. It also reinforced the principle that effective environmental governance requires organizations to manage climate, forests, biodiversity, and supply chain sustainability through an integrated strategic framework rather than isolated environmental initiatives. Slide 11. Building the database. This slide focuses on building the database, one of CDP's greatest strategic achievements. While many perceive CDP primarily as a disclosure platform, its true value lies in the creation of the world's largest standardized repository of corporate environmental information. Every annual reporting cycle enriches this database with millions of verified environmental data points, transforming individual company disclosures into a powerful source of global sustainability intelligence. The first topic is aggregated intelligence. CDP systematically collects information on climate change, water security, forests, biodiversity, energy consumption, emissions, governance structures, risk management, and environmental targets from thousands of organizations operating across multiple industries and jurisdictions. By aggregating this information into a structured and standardized database, CDP enables meaningful comparisons across sectors, regions, and reporting periods. The second topic is decision useful insights. Raw environmental data alone has limited value unless converted into actionable intelligence. CDP applies standardized methodologies, benchmarking techniques, and scoring mechanisms that help investors, regulators, lenders, and corporate executives interpret environmental performance objectively. These insights support strategic planning, investment decisions, enterprise risk management, and sustainability performance improvement. The third topic is powering ESG indices. CDP's database serves as a critical information source for internationally recognized ESG indices and sustainability rating agencies, including MSCI ESG Ratings, FTSE4Good, and the Dow Jones Sustainability Index. Investors rely on these assessments when evaluating long-term corporate resilience and responsible investment opportunities. Ultimately, CDP demonstrates that high-quality environmental data constitutes a strategic corporate asset. Organizations that consistently report accurate and comprehensive information strengthen stakeholder confidence, improve transparency, and enhance their ability to compete in increasingly sustainability-driven capital markets. Slide 12. Chapter 3 Part 3. The Mechanics of Disclosure. This slide introduces Chapter 3, The Mechanics of Disclosure, explaining how CDP's reporting framework operates and why it has become the global benchmark for environmental disclosure. A successful disclosure system depends not only on collecting information but also on ensuring that reported data are reliable, comparable, scientifically robust, and useful for decision-making. The first topic is structured environmental disclosure. CDP's annual disclosure process follows a systematic methodology that guides organizations through reporting governance structures, climate-related risks, environmental policies, greenhouse gas inventories, water management, forest risk commodities, biodiversity impacts, targets, and progress toward sustainability commitments. This standardized approach promotes consistency and comparability across reporting organizations. The second topic is comprehensive assessment framework. Rather than focusing solely on environmental performance indicators, CDP evaluates governance arrangements, strategic integration, risk identification, opportunity assessment, operational management, stakeholder engagement, and long-term transition planning. This comprehensive framework enables organizations to demonstrate both environmental performance and management maturity. Another important topic is continuous improvement. CDP continuously updates its disclosure methodology to reflect advances in climate science, evolving regulatory requirements, investor expectations, technological innovations, and international sustainability standards. This dynamic approach ensures that disclosures remain relevant within rapidly changing environmental, economic, and regulatory landscapes. For reporting organizations, the disclosure process itself often strengthens internal governance by encouraging collaboration among finance, sustainability, operations, procurement, legal, and executive management functions. Consequently, CDP functions not merely as a reporting mechanism but as a catalyst for organizational learning, strategic integration, and continuous environmental performance improvement. The mechanics of disclosure therefore provide the operational foundation upon which transparency, accountability, and sustainable corporate leadership are built. Slide 13, The Annual Cycle. This slide explains the annual cycle, highlighting how CDP maintains the relevance, credibility, and usefulness of its disclosure system through continuous refinement. Unlike static reporting frameworks, CDP evolves annually to reflect emerging scientific knowledge, changing regulatory expectations, and investor priorities. The first topic is an evolving questionnaire. Every reporting cycle incorporates updates that address the latest developments in climate science, environmental governance, disclosure methodologies, and international sustainability regulations. These revisions ensure that organizations report information reflecting current environmental risks and management practices rather than outdated indicators. The second topic is the 15-module structure. CDP's questionnaire consists of 15 integrated modules covering governance, environmental risks and opportunities, business strategy, greenhouse gas emissions, energy management, value chain engagement, targets, water security, forests, and environmental performance metrics. This comprehensive structure provides a holistic assessment of an organization's environmental management system. The third topic is alignment with global standards. One of CDP's distinguishing strengths is its alignment with internationally recognized frameworks, including TCFD, GRI, SASB, and increasingly the ISSB IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards. This interoperability allows organizations to prepare one integrated disclosure capable of satisfying multiple stakeholder requirements, significantly reducing reporting duplication. Another important feature is the write once, read many principle, whereby information disclosed through CDP can support sustainability reports, regulatory filings, investor communications, and ESG ratings simultaneously. Ultimately, the annual cycle demonstrates CDP's commitment to continuous improvement, ensuring that corporate disclosures remain scientifically robust, strategically relevant, and capable of supporting effective environmental governance and informed investment decision-making worldwide. Slide 14. Sector-specific challenges. This slide examines sector-specific challenges, emphasizing that environmental risks vary considerably across industries and therefore require differentiated disclosure requirements. A uniform reporting approach cannot adequately capture the unique sustainability challenges faced by diverse economic sectors. The first topic is extractive industries. Mining, metals, oil, and gas companies operate in sectors characterized by high greenhouse gas emissions, methane releases, water consumption, ecosystem disturbance, and stranded asset risks. Accordingly, CDP requires detailed disclosures concerning Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 emissions, methane management, transition planning, and climate-related financial risks. The second topic is agriculture and food systems. Agricultural producers, food processors, and commodity traders depend heavily on natural ecosystems and are directly linked to deforestation, biodiversity loss, land use change, and water consumption. CDP therefore includes sector-specific questions addressing forest risk commodities, supply chain traceability, sustainable sourcing practices, and ecosystem conservation. The third topic is financial services. Banks, insurance companies, pension funds, and asset managers increasingly influence environmental outcomes through lending and investment decisions. Consequently, CDP requires disclosure of financed emissions, portfolio climate exposure, transition risks, and environmental governance across investment portfolios. These differentiated questionnaires improve the materiality and relevance of environmental reporting by focusing on sector-specific sustainability challenges rather than applying generic indicators. Organizations therefore disclose information most relevant to their operational impacts and strategic risks. By recognizing sector-specific differences, CDP enables investors, regulators, and stakeholders to conduct more meaningful performance comparisons while encouraging industry-specific innovations that support sustainable development and responsible environmental stewardship across the global economy. Slide 15. Scoring, the report card. This slide discusses scoring, the report card, one of CDP's most influential features. Environmental disclosure alone is insufficient unless stakeholders can interpret and compare organizational performance effectively. CDP's scoring methodology translates complex disclosure information into standardized performance grades that facilitate transparent decision-making. The first topic is performance evaluation. Organizations are assessed across progressive stages of environmental management, including disclosure, awareness, management, and leadership. Each level reflects increasing maturity in governance, risk identification, environmental strategy, target setting, implementation, and measurable performance improvement. The second topic is leadership recognition. Companies achieving the prestigious A-list designation demonstrate not only comprehensive disclosure but also verified environmental action. Assessment criteria include science-based emissions reduction targets, board-level oversight, climate governance, risk management integration, stakeholder engagement, and measurable progress towards sustainability objectives. The third topic is business value of scoring. Investors, procurement organizations, customers, regulators, and financial institutions frequently incorporate CDP scores into supplier evaluations, investment analyses, lending decisions, ESG assessments, and procurement strategies. Consequently, higher scores can improve market reputation, access to sustainable finance, and competitive positioning. Importantly, CDP scoring encourages continuous improvement rather than simple compliance. Organizations can benchmark their performance against industry peers, identify improvement opportunities, strengthen governance systems, and progressively enhance environmental performance over successive reporting cycles. Therefore, CDP's scoring methodology functions not merely as a rating mechanism but as a strategic management tool that incentivizes transparency, accountability, innovation, and long-term sustainability leadership, helping organizations convert environmental disclosure into measurable business value and societal impact. Slide 16, Chapter 4, Part 4, The Global Scale. Welcome to Chapter 4, The Global Scale, where we examine how CDP evolved from a relatively small investor initiative into one of the world's largest environmental disclosure networks. Over the past 25 years, CDP has expanded beyond national boundaries to become a truly global platform, enabling standardized environmental reporting across industries, economies, and regulatory systems. The first topic is global expansion. Since its establishment in 2000, CDP has continuously broadened its geographical reach through collaboration with governments, institutional investors, corporations, stock exchanges, financial institutions, and international organizations. Today, companies from both developed and emerging economies voluntarily disclose environmental information using the same standardized framework, making global comparisons both practical and meaningful. The second topic is universal reporting standards. One of CDP's greatest achievements is the creation of a globally accepted reporting methodology that allows organizations operating under different legal systems and regulatory requirements to communicate environmental performance in a consistent format. This standardization enhances transparency, comparability, and credibility while reducing reporting inconsistencies. Another important topic is global environmental accountability. By connecting thousands of companies across multiple jurisdictions, CDP has created a worldwide ecosystem of environmental information that supports investors, policymakers, researchers, financial institutions, and civil society. This shared data infrastructure facilitates evidence-based policymaking, responsible investment, and international collaboration toward climate mitigation and sustainable development. Ultimately, the global scale of CDP demonstrates that environmental challenges such as climate change, biodiversity loss, water scarcity, and ecosystem degradation require internationally coordinated solutions supported by transparent, standardized, and comparable environmental disclosure systems. Slide 17, Massive Uptake. This slide illustrates massive uptake, highlighting the extraordinary expansion of CDP's reporting network and its influence on global corporate sustainability. The rapid increase in participation demonstrates that environmental disclosure has become an integral component of modern corporate governance rather than a voluntary public relations exercise. The first topic is 25,000 plus companies reporting. More than 25,000 organizations, representing virtually every major industrial sector, now disclose environmental information through CDP. These organizations range from multinational corporations to medium-sized enterprises, reflecting widespread recognition that environmental transparency contributes to improved governance, stakeholder confidence, and long-term business resilience. The second topic is two-thirds of global market capitalization. Companies reporting through CDP collectively represent approximately two-thirds of the world's total market capitalization. This remarkable statistic illustrates the substantial influence that environmental disclosure now exerts on global financial markets, investment decisions, and corporate strategy. The third topic is 130 countries participating. CDP's disclosure network spans over 130 countries, encompassing diverse regulatory environments, economic systems, and stages of development. Such extensive participation enables policymakers, investors, researchers, and financial institutions to compare environmental performance using standardized metrics regardless of geographical location. An equally important aspect is data-driven decision-making. Because the database includes organizations representing a significant proportion of the global economy, it provides one of the most comprehensive datasets available for analyzing environmental performance, climate risks, water security, and corporate transition pathways. The scale achieved by CDP confirms that environmental disclosure has become a globally accepted business practice supporting sustainable finance, corporate accountability, and evidence-based climate action. Slide 18, The Investor Voice. This slide examines the investor voice, emphasizing how institutional investors have become powerful catalysts for environmental transparency and sustainable finance. Investors increasingly recognize that environmental performance significantly influences long-term financial value, enterprise resilience, and investment risk. The growing investor influence. CDP's network now includes more than 640 institutional investors representing approximately $127 trillion in assets under management. Collectively, these investors encourage companies to disclose high-quality environmental information, enabling more informed capital allocation decisions and stronger corporate accountability. The first topic is redirecting capital flows. Environmental disclosures help investors identify organizations that effectively manage climate-related risks, transition planning, resource efficiency, and environmental governance. Companies demonstrating robust sustainability performance are more likely to attract green investments, sustainability-linked financing, and long-term institutional capital. Conversely, organizations with weak environmental performance may experience higher financing costs and greater investment scrutiny. The second topic is rewarding environmental leadership. CDP's scoring methodology enables investors to distinguish organizations that have progressed beyond disclosure toward measurable environmental action. High-performing companies often enjoy improved access to green bonds, sustainability-linked loans, ESG investment funds, and responsible procurement opportunities. Therefore, CDP demonstrates that sustainable finance is driven not only by regulatory compliance but also by informed investment decisions based on transparent, standardized, and decision-useful environmental information that supports resilient and responsible economic development. Slide 19, Chapter 5 Part 5, Real-World Impact. This slide introduces Chapter 5, Real-World Impact, which explores the measurable outcomes generated by environmental disclosure. The success of CDP should not be assessed merely by the quantity of information collected but by the tangible improvements in corporate environmental performance that disclosure has stimulated worldwide. The first topic is from reporting to action. One of CDP's defining achievements has been its ability to transform environmental reporting into meaningful organizational change. Companies frequently discover operational inefficiencies, resource consumption patterns, and climate-related risks during the disclosure process, leading directly to improved management practices and sustainability initiatives. The second topic is corporate behavioral change. Environmental disclosure encourages organizations to establish governance structures, define measurable performance indicators, develop science-based targets, integrate sustainability into strategic planning, and strengthen executive accountability. Transparency itself becomes a powerful driver of continuous organizational improvement. The third topic is evidence-based sustainability. Investors, regulators, researchers, and policymakers increasingly rely on disclosed environmental data to monitor progress toward climate goals, evaluate transition risks, identify emerging opportunities, and design evidence-based policies. Reliable disclosure therefore contributes directly to more effective environmental governance. An equally significant outcome is enhanced stakeholder confidence. Transparent reporting strengthens credibility among investors, customers, employees, financial institutions, regulators, and local communities by demonstrating an organization's commitment to responsible environmental management. Ultimately, this chapter reinforces the principle that environmental disclosure is valuable not simply because information becomes publicly available, but because transparency encourages measurable action, continuous improvement, strategic innovation, and long-term organizational resilience in response to evolving environmental challenges. Slide 20. The 7 to 10% rule. This slide presents the 7 to 10% rule, one of the most compelling empirical findings associated with CDP's disclosure program. Research indicates that organizations beginning environmental disclosure frequently achieve an average 7 to 10% reduction in direct greenhouse gas emissions within approximately 2 years after initiating reporting. The first topic is transparency drives action. This observation demonstrates that environmental disclosure is far more than a compliance exercise. The simple process of measuring, documenting, and publicly reporting environmental performance encourages organizations to identify inefficiencies, strengthen internal controls, improve governance, and prioritize emissions reduction initiatives. The second topic is what gets measured gets managed. This well-established management principle explains why organizations often improve environmental performance after beginning structured disclosure. Reliable measurement creates accountability, facilitates benchmarking, supports target setting, and enables continuous performance monitoring across business operations. The third topic is operational and strategic benefits. Organizations frequently realize additional advantages including improved energy efficiency, lower operational costs, enhanced resource productivity, stronger stakeholder confidence, better regulatory preparedness, and increased access to sustainable finance. These benefits reinforce the business case for transparent environmental management. Importantly, the relationship between disclosure and emissions reduction does not necessarily imply automatic causation. Rather, disclosure creates the organizational discipline necessary for identifying improvement opportunities, allocating resources effectively, engaging leadership, and implementing measurable climate actions. Consequently, the 7 to 10% rule provides compelling evidence that voluntary environmental transparency can generate significant, measurable corporate climate outcomes while simultaneously strengthening governance, competitiveness, and long-term enterprise value in an increasingly sustainability-oriented global economy. Slide 21. Cities, states, and regions. This slide focuses on cities, states, and regions, illustrating how CDP has expanded environmental disclosure beyond corporations to include subnational governments. While businesses play a critical role in addressing climate change, cities and regional authorities are equally important because they manage infrastructure, transportation, land use, water resources, waste management, and public services. Collectively, urban areas account for nearly 70% of global greenhouse gas emissions, making local governments indispensable partners in climate action. The first topic is 570 plus cities participating. Through CDP's dedicated platform, more than 570 cities across 89 countries disclose climate-related information, including greenhouse gas emissions, climate hazards, adaptation initiatives, and resilience strategies. This standardized reporting enables municipalities to benchmark performance, identify best practices, and strengthen environmental governance. The second topic is climate hazard mapping. Cities face increasing exposure to floods, heat waves, sea level rise, droughts, storms, and water scarcity. CDP assists municipalities in systematically identifying these physical climate risks through structured disclosure. The resulting information supports evidence-based planning, infrastructure investment, emergency preparedness, and long-term climate adaptation. The third topic is local to global integration. Municipal disclosure complements national climate commitments under the Paris Agreement by connecting local implementation with broader national and international sustainability objectives. Local governments become active contributors toward achieving nationally determined contributions, NDCs, and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Ultimately, CDP demonstrates that climate resilience requires coordinated action across governments, businesses, and communities. By strengthening transparency at the city and regional level, CDP promotes integrated environmental governance, informed policymaking, and sustainable urban development capable of addressing increasingly complex climate challenges. Slide 22, Chapter 6, Part 6, Navigating Complexity. This slide introduces Chapter 6, Navigating Complexity, emphasizing that environmental challenges have become increasingly interconnected, dynamic, and scientifically sophisticated. Modern organizations no longer manage isolated environmental issues but must address multiple interacting risks involving climate change, biodiversity loss, water security, ecosystem degradation, supply chains, and regulatory transformation. The first topic is increasing environmental complexity. Climate change amplifies numerous environmental challenges simultaneously, affecting ecosystems, economic systems, public health, infrastructure, agriculture, and financial stability. Consequently, organizations require integrated decision-making frameworks capable of managing these interconnected risks rather than isolated environmental programs. The second topic is strategic environmental intelligence. CDP increasingly supports organizations by transforming environmental disclosure into strategic intelligence. Instead of merely collecting data, the platform provides insights that enable businesses, governments, investors, and financial institutions to anticipate emerging risks, evaluate opportunities, and prioritize sustainability investments based on evidence rather than assumptions. The third topic is innovation and decision support. As disclosure systems evolve, technologies such as artificial intelligence, advanced analytics, geospatial information systems, and climate scenario modeling enhance the interpretation of environmental information. These innovations improve forecasting capabilities, risk assessments, resilience planning, and organizational preparedness for future environmental uncertainties. An equally significant consideration is adaptive governance. Environmental management today requires continuous learning, collaboration, and policy adaptation as scientific understanding and regulatory expectations continue to evolve. Organizations that embrace adaptive governance are better positioned to respond effectively to changing environmental conditions. This chapter therefore marks CDP's evolution from a disclosure platform into a strategic environmental intelligence system supporting informed, science-based decision-making across increasingly complex sustainability landscapes. Slide 23, The Adaptation and Action Explorer. This slide presents the Adaptation and Action Explorer, representing one of CDP's most innovative developments in applying artificial intelligence to environmental decision-making. The platform reflects CDP's transition from data collection toward practical implementation by helping organizations convert environmental information into targeted adaptation strategies. The first topic is AI-powered risk intelligence. The Adaptation and Action Explorer utilizes artificial intelligence and advanced analytics to integrate climate hazard data with locally relevant adaptation measures. Rather than presenting organizations with large volumes of technical information, the system interprets environmental risks and identifies practical resilience solutions tailored to specific geographical contexts. The second topic is from data to decision. Traditional environmental reporting often generates extensive datasets that can be difficult to translate into actionable management strategies. CDP addresses this challenge by transforming disclosure information into decision support tools that recommend interventions capable of reducing vulnerability to climate-related hazards such as flooding, drought, heat stress, coastal erosion, and extreme weather events. The third topic is regional resilience planning. Cities, regional governments, and corporations can compare their environmental risks with those of peer organizations, evaluate successful adaptation practices implemented elsewhere, and prioritize investments that deliver the greatest resilience benefits. This evidence-based approach improves resource allocation while supporting long-term climate adaptation planning. Importantly, the Explorer encourages collaboration among governments, businesses, financial institutions, researchers, and local communities by providing a shared knowledge platform for climate resilience. Ultimately, this innovation illustrates CDP's strategic evolution from environmental disclosure toward comprehensive environmental intelligence, empowering decision-makers to proactively manage climate risks through scientifically informed, technology-enabled, and locally appropriate adaptation strategies. Slide 24. Integrating New Frontiers. This slide examines integrating new frontiers, highlighting CDP's ongoing expansion into emerging environmental priorities that extend beyond traditional climate reporting. As sustainability challenges evolve, organizations must address new environmental risks that have become financially material and strategically significant. The first topic is plastics disclosure. Plastic pollution has emerged as one of the world's most pressing environmental issues, affecting terrestrial ecosystems, freshwater resources, marine environments, biodiversity, and human health. CDP now encourages organizations to disclose information regarding plastic production, consumption, recycling, waste management, circular economy initiatives, and reduction strategies. These disclosures help organizations identify opportunities for resource efficiency while reducing environmental impacts across product life cycles. The second topic is biodiversity metrics. Biodiversity loss increasingly threatens ecosystem services upon which businesses depend, including pollination, water regulation, soil fertility, carbon sequestration, and natural resource availability. Recognizing these risks, CDP introduced biodiversity-focused disclosure metrics to encourage organizations to assess ecological dependencies, habitat impacts, conservation initiatives, and nature-related business risks. The last one is related with preparing for future ESG requirements. Although biodiversity reporting initially remains largely exploratory and unscored, it establishes the foundation for future regulatory frameworks, investor expectations, and international sustainability standards. Organizations adopting these disclosures early will likely experience smoother transitions as biodiversity reporting becomes increasingly mainstream. Together, plastics and biodiversity reporting demonstrate CDP's commitment to maintaining environmental disclosure at the forefront of emerging sustainability priorities. This broader perspective encourages organizations to integrate climate action, circular economy principles, ecosystem conservation, and responsible resource management into comprehensive environmental governance strategies that support long-term business resilience and sustainable development. Slide 25, Chapter 7 Part 7, the 2026 Disclosure Cycle. This slide introduces Chapter 7, the 2026 Disclosure Cycle, representing the next major stage in CDP's evolution. The 2026 reporting cycle reflects significant advancements in sustainability disclosure, responding to increasingly complex environmental risks, rapidly evolving regulations, and growing investor expectations for high-quality environmental information. The first topic is expanding disclosure scope. The 2026 cycle broadens reporting requirements beyond traditional climate metrics to include enhanced biodiversity indicators, ocean-related disclosures, plastics management, nature-positive strategies, financed emissions, and integrated environmental governance. This expansion recognizes that climate change cannot be managed independently of broader ecological systems. The second topic is technology-enabled reporting. CDP increasingly incorporates artificial intelligence, digital reporting tools, automated validation processes, and advanced analytical capabilities that improve reporting efficiency, data quality, comparability, and user experience. These technological innovations reduce reporting burdens while enhancing the reliability of environmental disclosures. The last topic is responding to regulatory transformation. Sustainability reporting is transitioning from voluntary disclosure toward mandatory regulatory compliance across numerous jurisdictions. Consequently, the 2026 disclosure cycle aligns more closely with emerging international reporting frameworks, helping organizations simultaneously satisfy investor expectations and legal reporting obligations. An additional consideration is strategic corporate leadership. Organizations participating in the 2026 disclosure cycle position themselves to strengthen governance, improve environmental performance, enhance stakeholder trust, and maintain competitiveness within increasingly sustainability-focused markets. Overall, the 2026 disclosure cycle represents far more than an annual reporting update. It signifies CDP's continued leadership in shaping the future of global environmental disclosure by integrating scientific advances, technological innovation, regulatory developments, and strategic sustainability management into a unified reporting framework. Slide 26. Navigating the current landscape. This slide discusses navigating the current landscape, highlighting how the 2026 CDP disclosure cycle coincides with one of the most significant transformations in global sustainability reporting. Around the world, environmental disclosure is rapidly transitioning from voluntary corporate practice to mandatory regulatory compliance, requiring organizations to enhance both the quality and strategic relevance of their environmental information. The first topic is updated guidelines. CDP has revised its 2026 questionnaire to reflect major international sustainability reporting frameworks, including the International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB, the European Union Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, and evolving climate disclosure regulations across global markets. This alignment enables organizations to prepare disclosures that simultaneously satisfy multiple regulatory and stakeholder expectations while reducing reporting duplication. The second topic is decision-useful data. As environmental information increasingly influences investment decisions, regulatory oversight, credit assessments, and supply chain management, maintaining data quality, consistency, comparability, and transparency becomes essential. CDP therefore emphasizes standardized methodologies, robust governance, and evidence-based reporting to ensure that disclosures support informed decision-making. The last topic is leadership and compliance. Organizations are encouraged to move beyond minimum compliance requirements by integrating sustainability into strategic planning, governance structures, enterprise risk management, and long-term value creation. Companies demonstrating proactive environmental leadership are generally better prepared to adapt to evolving regulations, changing investor expectations, and emerging market opportunities. Ultimately, the current disclosure landscape requires organizations to view sustainability reporting not merely as a regulatory obligation but as a strategic business capability that strengthens resilience, competitiveness, stakeholder trust, and long-term corporate success within an increasingly sustainability-focused global economy. Slide 27. The Financial Services Pivot. This slide explores the financial services pivot, illustrating how financial institutions have evolved from being consumers of environmental information to becoming active participants in environmental disclosure. Banks, insurers, pension funds, and asset managers increasingly recognize that climate-related financial risks directly affect portfolio performance, capital allocation, and long-term financial stability. The PCAF Partnership. CDP collaborates with the Partnership for Carbon Accounting Financials, PCAF, to provide standardized methodologies for measuring and disclosing financed emissions. Unlike operational emissions, financed emissions represent greenhouse gases generated by companies and projects receiving loans or investments from financial institutions. Measuring these emissions enables investors and lenders to understand the environmental impacts associated with their financial portfolios. The other is related with capital redirection. Once financed emissions are quantified, financial institutions can identify sectors with elevated transition risks, physical climate risks, and environmental dependencies. This information supports strategic decisions to redirect investments toward organizations demonstrating credible net zero transition plans, resource efficiency, and sustainable business models. The most burning topic is transforming sustainable finance. Financial institutions increasingly integrate environmental disclosure into credit assessments, investment screening, shareholder engagement, and portfolio management. Transparent disclosure therefore strengthens risk management while promoting responsible capital allocation that supports climate mitigation and sustainable development. An additional consideration is systemic financial resilience. By encouraging portfolio-wide environmental transparency, CDP helps financial markets anticipate long-term environmental risks before they become material financial disruptions. Ultimately, the financial services sector has become a powerful driver of corporate environmental accountability, reinforcing the principle that sustainable finance depends upon credible, standardized, and decision-useful environmental disclosure. Slide 28, Chapter 8, Part 8, Strategic Leadership. This slide introduces Chapter 8, Strategic Leadership, emphasizing that environmental disclosure has evolved from a compliance requirement into a source of competitive advantage. Leading organizations increasingly recognize that sustainability reporting supports strategic decision-making, operational excellence, innovation, and long-term value creation rather than merely satisfying regulatory obligations. The first topic is disclosure as strategy. High-performing organizations integrate environmental disclosure into corporate governance, enterprise risk management, investment planning, product innovation, and stakeholder engagement. Environmental information becomes a strategic resource that informs executive decision-making and supports organizational resilience. The second topic is competitive differentiation. Organizations demonstrating transparent environmental performance often gain stronger investor confidence, enhanced corporate reputation, improved customer loyalty, and greater access to sustainable finance. In addition, sustainability leadership increasingly influences procurement decisions, talent acquisition, and strategic partnerships within global value chains. The third topic is leadership through innovation. Corporate leaders continuously invest in clean technologies, renewable energy, circular economy initiatives, resource efficiency, and climate adaptation strategies to strengthen both environmental performance and business competitiveness. Disclosure provides the evidence needed to communicate these achievements to investors and other stakeholders. Another important consideration is long-term corporate resilience. Strategic environmental leadership enables organizations to anticipate emerging regulations, manage climate-related financial risks, adapt to changing market conditions, and capitalize on new sustainability opportunities before competitors. Therefore, CDP encourages organizations to regard environmental disclosure as an essential management tool supporting innovation, responsible governance, stakeholder confidence, and sustainable business transformation. Strategic leadership ultimately positions companies not only to comply with evolving expectations but also to shape the future of sustainable economic development. Slide 29. Why disclosure is the business norm. This slide examines why disclosure is the business norm, demonstrating why environmental reporting has become an indispensable component of modern corporate governance. Environmental transparency is no longer viewed as voluntary corporate philanthropy but as an essential business practice that strengthens organizational performance, investor confidence, and long-term competitiveness. The first is regulatory preparation. Governments worldwide are introducing mandatory sustainability reporting requirements, making early adoption of standardized disclosure frameworks highly advantageous. Organizations already reporting through CDP possess mature data management systems, governance processes, and reporting capabilities that facilitate compliance with evolving regulations while reducing implementation costs. The second topic is stakeholder trust. Reliable environmental disclosure enhances credibility among investors, customers, regulators, employees, suppliers, lenders, and local communities. Third-party verification, transparent methodologies, and consistent reporting strengthen confidence that environmental commitments are supported by measurable performance rather than unsupported sustainability claims. The third is related with competitive advantage. Organizations demonstrating environmental leadership frequently benefit from improved access to green finance, sustainability-linked procurement opportunities, responsible investment funds, and enhanced corporate reputation. Sustainability performance increasingly influences market differentiation, customer preferences, and long-term shareholder value. Another important dimension is corporate accountability. Transparent reporting encourages continuous improvement by enabling organizations to benchmark performance, identify operational inefficiencies, establish science-based targets, and communicate measurable progress toward sustainability objectives. Ultimately, disclosure has become the business norm because it simultaneously supports regulatory compliance, strategic planning, financial performance, stakeholder engagement, and responsible environmental stewardship. Organizations embracing transparency today are better positioned to thrive within tomorrow's increasingly sustainability-oriented global economy. Slide 30, the transition plan. This concluding slide presents the transition plan, emphasizing that environmental disclosure represents the beginning, not the conclusion, of an organization's sustainability journey. While transparent reporting establishes accountability, long-term success depends upon translating disclosed information into credible, science-based transition strategies that achieve measurable environmental outcomes. The first topic is from disclosure to action. Leading organizations increasingly use CDP disclosures to identify operational inefficiencies, assess climate-related risks, prioritize investments, strengthen governance, and implement evidence-based sustainability initiatives. Environmental reporting therefore becomes the foundation for continuous improvement rather than a standalone reporting exercise. The second is related 1.5 degrees Celsius aligned corporate strategies. Approximately 1/4 of CDP reporting organizations now operate strategies explicitly aligned with the 1.5 degrees Celsius global warming pathway, demonstrating increasing commitment to science-based emissions reduction, renewable energy adoption, resource efficiency, and climate resilience. These organizations integrate sustainability into corporate strategy, financial planning, executive accountability, and investment decision-making. The other topic is planning for future action. Among organizations not yet fully aligned with climate goals, many are actively developing comprehensive transition plans that include decarbonization pathways, climate adaptation measures, biodiversity conservation, circular economy initiatives, and sustainable supply chain management. CDP increasingly recognizes and rewards organizations demonstrating credible transition planning within its scoring methodology. The final message of this presentation is that transparency creates accountability, accountability drives action, and action delivers sustainable transformation. CDP has fundamentally reshaped global environmental reporting by providing organizations with a trusted framework for measuring performance, communicating progress, and implementing science-based transition strategies that contribute to a resilient, low-carbon, and nature-positive global economy. Here we end this presentation and now shall move to part 2 of the Transparency Revolution, 25 Years of CDP. We encourage you to remain actively engaged with our channel, participate in the forthcoming sessions in continuing this topic related to various types of risk associated in sustainable disclosures, and thoughtfully disseminate these professional insights across your networks, particularly among business leaders, sustainability practitioners, compliance professionals, and stakeholders committed to advancing responsible corporate governance and transparent reporting practices.